do you have multiple personalities?
Yes, I have
How
7.
many? Oh, 7. Do
Yep.
you have? So, do you want to share like all 7? What's the difference between all 7?
Yeah, sure. So I have 7. One of them is a male. The other 6 are females.
Yeah.
Their ages. So one thing about when I say alter egos or personalities, it's really a personality. And I'm talking like, because some people might think, oh, it's just a phase that I go through. No. Till this day, I still experience it. When I say I'm in a personality, you will know. It's like you're meeting me. So this could be a personality, but this is just me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just do not think it's that I'm putting it on or anything. So I start with the male, and that's my brother.
Okay.
His name is David, same age as my brother, deep voice. It's like a male, like, you know, a typical male, like it's like a male, like wants to be staunch, whatever. Well, that's my brother. I've come to conclusion, or my psychologist has come to conclusion that I've taken him on because when my dad left, he was my father figure. So
Gotcha.
you know, and it's weird. It's so strange to me as well. When I'm David, you'll know I'm quite like him. My brother's very introverted, very cute, like to himself. I'm naturally bubbly, talkative, whatever. He's just very like to himself, like replies with short answers, doesn't like cake and tomatoes, I don't think. So I don't like cake and tomatoes when I'm David. I need it right. But naturally myself, I'll eat anything. I'm not picky. I'm not allergic to anything. But I'll freaking vomit if I eat cake and I'm David. That's how much it really takes over me. And I'm conscious when I turn into when I switch into these personalities.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I just let it happen. I can't really try and control it, the more out of hand it gets. So for me, it's just David, same age as my brother. I like to be called David. That's the thing. Sorry, I but laugh when I just talk about it, and I don't mind because I'm talking about myself.
Yeah.
It's just so then you got Rachel. Rachel's a church girl. I was very churchy as a child.
Yeah.
Mormon. Rachel only hangs out with white people. I grew up in a ward, mainly white people. We were the only brown people. A church girl. All of a sudden, she just says all these inspirational church Bible verses, like just randomly, very like, oh, I didn't say that word, like very just innocent, very pure. And when I'm in these personalities, you can very much tell that it's like, you cannot tell that I'm, it's just a personality. You really believe that it's someone else.
We are live. What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Kava Club Podcast, where we share healthy conversations, experiences, apply knowledge, and stories to promote happiness, love, success, to improve your quality of life. So my name is Will. You guys already know I am the host of this show. If you're watching and tuning in for the very first time, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and subscribe to my channel. And everybody that's been watching, everybody that's been subscribed, thank you so much for the love and support. Thank you for all the positive feedback. Keeps the fire going, keeps me going every single day to make sure I provide quality content for you guys. So, but I'm excited today, y'all. I have a very special guest. Is one of our, it took me a while to get her to come here on the show. We went through our ups and downs, but I finally got her to be here today. So she's one of our Polynesian sisters all the way from Brisbane, Australia. She is a music artist that goes by Lesieli. And she promised she's going to do a quick song and sing today at the end of the podcast for you guys. You got to get some good vibes from her. But I just want to say directly to her, thank you so much for being on the show. We're very grateful for this opportunity. But I'll allow her to introduce herself real quick. So it's all you.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. If he hasn't already introduced me enough, my is Lesieli, if you don't know me by that. I'm a singer from Brisbane, Australia. I am 21 years old. My full name is Lesieli Moore, and I'm full Tongan, living in Brisbane, Australia.
All right. Thank you so much. We're finally here. We are finally here.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Thank you so much. So I guess we'll get started. So my audience don't know who you are. Can you give a quick synopsis of your life story, your background, and how did you grow up?
Okay. Yep. Oh my goodness, where do I even start? Well, what made me a woman today is obviously based off what's happened to me as a child growing up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Everybody experiences things different. We all have our own different experiences growing up, and depending on how much has happened to you, that's what shaped you to the person you are today.
Yeah.
So growing up, I've had a rough childhood ever since I could probably remember, maybe around 6, 5. So born in New Zealand with my siblings. There was only about 4 of us at the time. My parents didn't have a good relationship, so just even from that, them having a good relationship, things just starting to get really rocky. And my mum actually fled from New Zealand because of their relationship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it wasn't that good at the time. And as far as we fled from New Zealand to here, just us kids, flew to Brisbane, Australia, and basically just lived with a family member that they weren't even as close to at the time.
Yeah.
So just starting from that, that was my first memory of being traumatized as a kid.
Yeah.
And I can say that's definitely affected my relationship till this day, and who I have relationships with, family, friends, and acquaintances, whatever.
But did you see things, or? I
did as a kid. It's till this day there are some memories where I just kind of question, did they even happen, or did I just see it as a kid and I just completely made my own scenario from it. Like, for example, like alcohol. My mum's side is Mormon, and then my dad's side is not Mormon. So to have my dad always drink and smoke and stuff around us kids, and then my mum, that's already an argument in itself. And so for me to I don't know what's normal. To me, I'm thinking not smoking and smoking is a sin, and then I'm thinking if you do it, that's the right thing to do. So I did see things, and then until this day, I still kind of beat myself up for even feeling upset about it at the time. Like as a 5-year-old kid, I'm upset seeing an argument. Now that I'm older, I'm trying to think, there's a reason why they're arguing. Like, normal.
It's not normal, yeah.
Especially if, I don't have the parents, I don't have family or siblings that can turn around and talk to me about these things. Especially at a young age, you shouldn't know these things. Like, you shouldn't even think it's normal unless you're surrounded by it. That's the only way I'd know about these kind of things. But so that's when that started happening to me. It took me a few years to even realize that what was going on. And so I just took it out on eating. That was my way of coping. When I say kids these days can eat, but I could eat back then. I really.
Yeah.
And so from a young age, I experienced being depressed quite early. That's one thing I was quite. Sorry?
Did you tell anyone? When you finally realized it was wrong, did you tell anyone?
No, that's one thing I regret, but I can't change.
Yeah, why did you feel like you couldn't tell anyone?
I kind of felt like, when I realized. Sorry, you're talking about when I realized that it was wrong, like when I was 15. Yeah,
when you finally realized that there was something that was not normal and it was wrong.
I didn't tell anyone because in my head I'm thinking, I'm already trying to analyze all the details and think of as much as I can as possible. And to me, I was just thinking, if I didn't talk about it back then, why do I have to decide to talk about it now? And in my head, I'm thinking, if I tell my parents and they ask me questions, they're going to ask, why didn't you tell us back then? And I actually can't come up with an answer for that. But now that I'm older, I shouldn't have to think about them asking that question. To me now, if I were to ask myself back then, I wouldn't even question, why didn't you say anything back then? Because I'd consider how I'd feel.
Do you remember? Do you remember why you didn't say anything back then?
I was just scared.
Scared, yeah.
I was just scared. I was so nervous about, was it even, didn't even happen? It got to a point where I was questioning myself, am I just making this up? Where we were just wrestling or something like that, especially because I didn't talk about it to anybody. So I didn't have anything to go off, and it was just memory, and my memory was already deteriorating at that 15, 16. So I was really struggling to have, I was really struggling to just remember what even happened. I do know now, like what's happened. It's taken me all these years to even just try and get one good memory out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happened to me as a kid, I mean, that's enough. So when I was 8 to 11, my mum left this time. So my mum left us kids on my birthday. So that's another thing. Like,
when you say left, what does that mean? What do you mean when she left? And I say when your mom left, what does that mean?
So when I say left, I mean like she literally got up and left our family, like left us kids, left my dad, like left us. Yes.
Oh wow, like abandoned. So abandoned you guys.
Yeah, abandoned.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yep,
okay.
Fully abandoned. So she
Do you
left.
know why? Do you know why she abandoned you guys?
It was because of her relationship with my dad. It just wasn't on.
Got you. Okay.
Really, at that point, we're getting older. She's getting older. They're both getting older. Things are just getting worse. So at this point, I'm turning 11, 12. I'm already getting bullied in primary school.
Yeah.
To come home. And on top of all of this, my mum leaves us. My sister's at that rebellious stage of her teenage years. So she's in and out, my siblings are in and out of the house. And I'm basically like looking after my two younger siblings, like a baby and a toddler. That's the point I'm at. And I'm 12 years old, I'm really young. So that's already triggered for me to have abandonment issues. Now till this day, when you see people in and out of your life that are supposed to look after you, I'm feeling like, damn, these are gonna be like this forever. It's gonna affect me till this day. Did
she even tell anybody? Did she even say anything to anybody before she left?
I just have a memory of, because it was my birthday and I invited friends, and she just packed her stuff up and she just looked at me, she just said happy birthday, and then she just left. And I was so like really angry at the time, because I'm like, they're really from my friends now, like really.
Yeah.
And I think about it, I'm like, I see it from her point of view, and I do see why she left.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she fully left, and then I don't know if it was a few days, I can't recall, but she came back and she got my two younger siblings.
Yeah.
So really it was just me at the house. Siblings are just, they're 16, 17 at the time. They're going out, they hang out with their friends, they're old enough. I'm basically the youngest and only one in the house. So basically it was just me and my all the time. And then that's when he decided to bring in family from overseas, from New Zealand. So we're all cramped up in this house. On top of that, I have all these problems. I'm just getting bullied at school because of my weight gain.
Yeah.
I was known as a real that chubby girl. I was known as that chubby girl. So on top of like happening at home, if I'm not at home, I'm getting shut down at school. If I'm not getting it at school, I'm going home and I'm copying hiding because the parents angry, or my siblings done this and I haven't done a chore or something. So everything's just quite happening at once, and it made me even more depressed. So I started gaining even more weight.
Yeah.
And that's how I actually clicked that something was quite wrong with me, because not just with me eating, but
like mentally.
I've always had trouble sleeping, and I've always had just trouble sleeping. I'd say like insomnia. But not only that, I just started seeing things from a young age. I know we have, some people may or may not have imaginary friends, but I never had imaginary friends. I would see, family members that have passed, stuff like that. So I knew something was, and then it just started to turn into like just random things. So I always kind of knew that something was wrong with me. And that's actually something I haven't told my parents till this day.
Yeah.
So that's the first sign of me knowing what's going on with me.
Are you still in communication or relationship? Have a relationship with your mom today?
I do have communication with her, but I do not have a close relationship
Okay.
at all. at all. So that's basically what's happened in my childhood. So then as soon as I hit high school, maybe about 13, I'd say, my mum ended up, coming back and taking us younger kids, and my older siblings kind of stayed with my. So for us, it was a lot of, okay, pick and choose. Like, do you want to stay with your mum? Do you want to stay with your dad? That's the kind of, for a long time, for about 5 years, I was just like, oh. And that's when I thought, okay, two parents being not together, that's normal. I normalized it. In my head, I normalized it. Didn't help. They didn't talk about it with us. Whatever went down with them too, they'd kind of just, they'd get us and they'd be like, oh, this is what your father did, or this is what your mum did. So we were just at war in our own heads. Like, with my parents, we could go see our mum and then be like, damn, she really be like that, and then go to my dad's and be like, well, this is what she said. So we really didn't know how to love our parents in that way. It's a shitty thing to say, but as kids, you go through that and you see it, especially seeing more than what my younger siblings seen, because they grew up, getting the nicer part of their relationship. But me and my older siblings, when we were younger, we got to see like why it started and how it started, So to see our younger siblings kind of just secondhand experience what we were experiencing, it was such a sad thing to see. It was really sad.
So when your mom left, your dad took over raising you guys?
Raising me and my 3 older siblings. So it was just us older siblings. Then it was my mom and my younger 2. She took the younger 2. And then over a period of time, she came back and she took me. So then she moved. So at this point, I'm 12. We've moved out, and it's just, and on top of all of this, she's decided to take on my grandparents and her deceased sister's kids, 2 of them. So she's raising like us. As fast forward, she's got 5 of us kids, her own kids, all in one house, plus her 2 parents, plus her, sister's 2 kids. So that's where it kind of stopped, where she just kind of looked after her own kids. Her main focus now was her parents, and his sister's kids, because she's the oldest child out of her siblings. So she felt, and still feels like till this day, that she has the responsibility to look after, her sister's kids, grandparents. She's got that responsibility, and she still holds. So that's when it kind of stopped. That's when I stopped having a relationship with her. That's when all my siblings kind of just stopped being as close as we were with her. Her main focus was to raise her, to see the way that she would want, instead of kind of, you can't pick and choose which kid you can love more. But that's kind of what was happening when you just start to favor kids, and kids know when you're just doing things, out of spite, or when you're just doing things more than you're treating this person more than they're treating you better, We started to have rivalry between us as siblings. Because when you sit back and think about it, like, why does she get to go on the internet till 10, but I have to turn it off at 8? It gets to small things like that. It just starts to build up over time, and you end up just not even like looking at your household as a family. You're just despising and going home. It gets to a point like that, and especially because she was a single mom at this point. She was working like 2-3 jobs at the same time, while raising like a baby, or raising her grandparents, or trying to get school uniforms. So that's when I started to become a mum. With my siblings. I just automatically, and I put that pressure on myself to just step up. As a female in the house, she can't do it, so someone's got to do it. My older sister, she decided to move to Sydney, so I have, I just thought, I have to. That's where I get it from as well. Seeing her do it, like with my grandparents and my cousins, I thought, okay, well then I should do it. So that's when I started looking after, everyone else, and I started being the mum of the group. I started walking the kids to school, making lunches, having everything organized. And imagine doing that at like 13. And I should be having fun, I should be staying up to. Instead, I'm staying up ironing uniforms. I'm looking after, have you brushed your teeth, blah, blah, blah. And then I'd look after myself. And that's something that I struggle with till this day, is to put myself first.
Yeah, self-priority.
Yeah, self-priority.
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't even cross my mind. But all these things is why I'm the way I am today.
Yeah.
So that's happening at home. I get bullied again in high school. And mind you, I was a smart kid, straight A student, just without even trying. Like, I was a naturally smart kid. Until I had to move to somewhere called Woodridge. And if you talk to people in Brisbane, they know where Woodridge is. It's like the hood in Brisbane.
Okay, the hood.
Ghetto in Brisbane. Place, no.
What's it called again?
It's the ghetto.
What's it called again? Woodridge? Woodridge?
No.
You know what you say? Is it Woodridge, right?
Yeah. That's the place where, like just kind of, wow, Woodridge kind of thing. Okay.
That's what I just want to know, the places when I go to Australia to avoid.
There's nothing wrong with Woodridge, but
I'm joking. Yeah.
It was a less fortunate area, and so I got moved there, me and my siblings, and it just hit the fan for me. I was still chubby, I was still growing, not tall, but I was growing sideways, and that's when I just had a lot of trouble. I never had troubles making friends. I just had a lot of trouble with a lot of people, especially it's a school full of Polynesian.
Yeah.
And they just had problems of me being such a bubbly personality.
Yeah.
Here I don't know if it's anywhere like that in around the world or something, but especially in this school, when it's mostly dominated by Polynesians, and especially Polynesian women, they will pick at every little thing you do. Especially me, I'm considered a light skin Tongan.
Yeah.
I got picked on for being light skin Tongan, having the accent that I do, having a high pitched voice, and because they've based it the whole stereotype of being a Tongan woman, you have to be, from, I don't even know why there's such a stereotype of what you should look like, or sound like, or be like, but they've just in their head. So to see me, especially be a outspoken Tongan light skin, I couldn't even speak my language. I still can't. But these things, like, they would really, really pick at me, especially because everyone else around me wasn't as light skinned as me. So I literally had skin color for that. Like, I just hated it. I didn't even want to be Tongan. Like, it got to a point where they really pick at me. And that's when I got bullied, to the point where I was seeing a psychologist at school and outside of school at 15. And I went from being, I think, 85 kilos to, I think, 68 within 7 weeks. And it wasn't a healthy way. It got to a point where I starved myself, like, to the T. I starved myself. I was doing, like, every chance I got, I'd do push-ups on the ground. Like, I'd be like, I'm going to toilet or something, and I'd get down and I'm like 20 push-ups or something. Like, it was extreme. Like, what kind of 15-year-old should think, oh, whenever I get free time, I'm going to go down and do like 25 burpees nonstop. And if I don't stop, then I have to keep going. Like, it was very deteriorating. Like, my mind was just deteriorating. And then when I was seeing the psychologist, not only did they try and diagnose me with depression, they were trying to diagnose me with paranoid schizophrenia.
Oh, wow.
And so, because at this point I was starting to see things, and they were really trying to get and dig deep into my life and see why I was like this. And when I was under 18, I was thinking, if I tell them things that it's going to affect me now, they're going to tell my parents. And I'm not going to tell my parent that I was sexually, abused by a family member. And then, Did
you tell that to the psychologist?
No, because the agreement saying here in Australia, I don't know if it's everywhere, that if it's going to cause you to a point where you're going to self-harm, or if there's vital information, you need to tell someone that's over 18 or guardian. So I had that at the back of my mind. I couldn't even fully tell my story because I didn't even tell my parents. They didn't even know. So that was the first two psychologists and psychiatrists I've ever seen in my life. I had a full glow up where I just moved schools because I got bullied. I got was getting called all sorts of names. I just thought, you know what, I'm sick of this school. It got to a point where my mum had to actually come to the school to pick me up because there was 40 other students that were going to beat me up. There's 40 students against 5, mainly me, like me and 4 Mormon friends who wouldn't even kill a fly, like, you know, and you have 40 kids, and my mum has to come to school. Yeah, and just the way it was handled as well. The school council was a Samoan. And just because there were hardly any Tongans at that, he kind of favoured those 40 kids because they're all Samoan. He knew their parents. They all go to church together, you know, outside of school. So to him, it's not a problem. He dismissed it. So, and that still traumatized me till this day. I fully had to write out all 40 names, and he just, like, you know, screwed the paper up, kind of throw it. Like, it's stuff you see on movies. Like, that's the kind of stuff what's happening to me. And you know those moments where something happens and you're like, oh, there's nothing else that can top this off, but then it just keeps happening. That's kind of how it was. That's kind of how it was like for me. Sorry.
It's all good.
That's how it was like for me, just event after event, and I just never got a break. I really didn't. Amrin. So I come to my final years of high school. That's when my mental health, I just really, like, it showed. No matter how bad I tried to hide it, all those previous years when I was sad, I'd just go to my room. One week where I'd just be like, yeah, get all my emotions out, I'm sad. The next week I'll get over it, you know, really dismissing it. So when I was 15, 16, that's when things really started to just affect me, not only because it was happening to me mentally, but physically. Like, there was situations where I wouldn't even put myself in. For instance, I was at a bus stop waiting for the school bus to come, and a comes out and he just gets undressed in front of me, and this is a male homeless man, and I froze. Like, stuff like that was happening to me, and I wasn't even asking for it. I wasn't even putting myself in.
Say that one more time. You cut off a little bit. Repeat that one more time. You cut off.
No, I was saying there was moments in high school where I was waiting for public.
Yeah.
In a street where a kid would wait for their bus. Men would just come and sit next to me or approach me and just, you know, try to get at me. Or, and one of the instances was when one of the men got undressed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So really extreme cases like that, and you know at the time, you know, you hear stories like that, you think, well, why didn't you run? Why didn't you, you know? But what people don't understand is that when you're in situations like that, you're in full shock mode. You don't know what to do. You yourself could say, oh, I should have run or something, but you're not thinking in the moment because that you're scared, and that moment's going to put so much shock. You don't know what to do. So there were so many moments where I was just in shock mode, because that's not the first time it's happened to me, you know. And when it just kept happening, all that, like with these men, because it wasn't just happening at bus stops, it was happening at, you know, when I just go movies and stuff, like it was so consistent to the point when I was like, is someone like setting me up? This isn't normal for these kinds of things to just keep happening. These are things like the police, and it's just a one-off, two-off. But if it's happening more than 10 times, like, I started blaming myself for it. I started thinking, why? Like, is it because I'm overdressing? And mind you, I could look like a wreck, and this would still happen to me. Yeah, I was all over the place, and that's when I started to really think about my childhood. This is when it was triggering moment in my head, experience what I was as a kid. That's what brought it up. And over the years, I had trouble with my memory and now I know why, because when I spoke to a psychologist, they were saying that when you don't want to remember specific memories, your mind blocks it out.
Yeah, you suppress it.
Yeah, you suppress it, and it's
especially trauma.
Yeah, no matter how bad you want to remember it, it's just, you know, it's traumatized me. So obviously, I don't want to remember it. But if later on down the track, I'm still not going to. Over the years, your memory is gonna, you know, not getting better. So that happened when I was 15, moved schools, I grew up. And then that's when my hallucinations started getting really severe. I couldn't walk properly without getting lost. I couldn't walk. And these are small things. These are things that like helped me to this day realize, oh, like, damn, why didn't I take that as a flag? Why didn't I actually think that's not normal? Because it was happening to me over the years. It's building up. All these symptoms, small symptoms were happening to me, and I was thinking it's normal. And it didn't help too because the people around me weren't educated on mental health. So they were just like, oh, she's cuckoo. That's fine. That's just her, you know. Oh, that's just Ellie. Like, she just wanders around and gets lost. That's just her. But really, that's not normal. Do you randomly walk 5 meters in and then you don't know where you are? That's not normal.
Yeah.
So yeah, my last years of graduating, when I say I get physical, I mean like me physically like throwing my desk because I was getting angry when I was in maths and there was, you know, letters. To me, they're drawing cats and dogs, and I couldn't. It was scary because I was getting angry, not at people, because I was wondering, like, why is this happening to me? Why am I seeing birds instead of a grasshopper, you know? And I went from being a straight A student to just barely passing, like, at all. And I knew I was smart. I knew I had the brains for whatever I was doing. I couldn't sit 10 minutes in a class with 10 people without thinking that there's 20 people, or without me hearing, because it wasn't just messing around with my vision, it was my hearing, it was my smell, it was all of it, just really being, it's like someone got a keyboard and is just like, okay now, and just everything just happening at once. I didn't know how to talk properly. I didn't know my name at one point. I'd come home and I'm just like, who am I? Like, what am I doing here? But it didn't help because the way I am, I'm such a chill person. The way I say things, you can either take it as a joke or seriously. So a lot of people just thought I was, you know, kidding or joking around.
So were you finally diagnosed, like when your conditions got severe?
Yep. It took me up until I was 18. I was working with my 2 siblings and I was in a call center. And mind you, they already know that like I was going to get diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, but they don't know that, you know, it was still happening till that day. So in 2018, October the 8th, I was working at a call center with my brother and sister. And because this is why work-life balance is so important, you have to balance the two. I didn't know how to. And in my head, I was thinking, oh, geez, I'm earning money. I'm working. Like, this is a good distraction. I'm going to overwork myself. So I started overworking myself, doing like 10, 12 hours a day. And when you're in a call center, you know, you get this, you're so used to hearing your name getting called because you're saying your name yourself. I started hearing my name being called. And it took like literally 15 minutes for me to get very annoyed that I just threw my computer, threw everything in front of me, and I stood up and I'm like, who's calling I don't know who's calling my, and I'm already naturally a hothead. I'm naturally short-tempered. So it doesn't, like, stuff like that bugs me already because I'm already thinking like, oh my gosh, like, is someone actually calling my name? Or, you know, in my head, at the time I'm thinking someone's trying to start something. Why are they calling my name nonstop? Everyone's calling my name. So once I flip that, you know, I get pulled to the side. My sister stands up and she's scared because she's never seen me like that. I've had episodes in school where I've just, you know, flipped out or whatever, and because they had, at this point in high school, they were in talks, the school counselor and principal were in talks with my mum. That's how bad it got. So when my sister, because she wasn't seeing me like this in school, to see me like that in public, she knows I wouldn't embarrass myself like that. So to see that happen to me, she was very taken back and very just worried for me. Just sister and mum mode. She was a mum at the time, so she was very like, well, what's happening? That's my sister. I don't care if I'm in a job right now. I know what's wrong with her, kind of thing. Pulled me to the side. And at that point, when they pulled me to the side, I blacked out. I couldn't remember anything. And that's where they said my eyes were really I just looked out of it. I looked dazed. They were asking who I was, didn't know my name, didn't even realize where I was. They tried to send me for a break. I got lost. for about 25 minutes in the building. So at that point, I was really like borderline almost, I could honestly say I fully lost myself.
Yeah.
Didn't even was. So then that's when they referred me to a psychologist. And on this day, I remember everything so clearly because it's the day that, changed my life. They told me to go to a psychologist. I drove the car to the psychologist, almost got into like 4 car crashes. Something, if you think I'm hallucinating when I'm sitting still, imagine me driving and just being like,
I'm surprised they let you drive.
I'm not supposed to. And I was like, yeah. And then I bolted out.
Yeah.
And I was like trying to whatever. But I was sitting, got to a psychologist. I didn't even think about price. I was still concerned. I wanted to know what was wrong with me. I'm not even kidding. This psychologist I think she was like 40 years old or something. She was going on to tell me, because when you meet a psychologist, at this point, she's my like 7th psychologist I've seen in my life. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh yeah, she's not going to listen, She's going in 5 minutes deep into telling me, like, explaining a bit of her background. She goes on to tell me her name. She's had 20 years experience, blah, blah, blah. She hasn't even gotten to a point to ask for my name. And I've literally, this is me. I'm not even kidding. I'm like, yeah, because the bus turns green. Why are you asking me, what's your name? I don't like green. Like, that's, it just, how you might auto, correct it, click the middle button. That's what my sentences were sounding like. And picture me driving like I'm scared for everybody that comes my way. And it wasn't until then she just said to me, I remember her saying, what's going on? Because not only was that, I was trying to hurt her. I was thinking she was part of the government, like trying to get at me,
Yeah.
I was thinking all kinds of crazy things. And at the time, it's so, like, it feels so real. There's no words that can describe that feeling of not knowing whether something is real or not. So after that, she literally told me, I can't diagnose you right now. You need to go to the hospital right now. She had to grab my phone and call my sister to come and my mum to come get me. So they came and got me. Took me to the hospital emergency room. She said, you need to take her. I've never seen anything like this within my years of being a psychologist. Nothing. I can't even give an outline. She could harm herself and others in public. You need to take her. Mm-hmm. And it was great to hear that, because at the same time, while I'm thinking, like, there's voices in my head saying, like, punch her. But I know that I'm not, have to just go and punch someone like that. Yeah. But in that, I didn't know what was happening. It was so scary for me. And it was experiencing like an out-of-body experience. I was going in and out of consciousness. So when you're hearing people saying, but you did this, I'm saying, no, but I didn't. And then I turn around and do the same, the same thing. Yeah. Like, not only scary for them, but it's more scary for me because I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, you weren't consciously aware of it.
Yeah. And so long story short, we get to the hospital. The hospital, they didn't have a mental ward there. They transferred me to another one. I get there and I just, over 24 hours, I didn't sleep because they had doctors from different hospitals coming in just for me, an 18-year-old patient, and they're asking me a bunch of different questions. They couldn't just diagnose me on the spot. And what made it even worse is because I was hearing them say, I've never experienced something so alarming like this. And to hear the actual doctors and nurses' conversations and knowing it's about you, it's scary. You can watch a movie and be like, damn, that happened to her. But when it's about you, when you hear doctors talking about you, it's 10 times scarier. And the fact that they took a long time to diagnose me, and I really felt like I was crazy. They isolated me in my own room from other emergency patients. And usually you're all in the same room. But because I was harming the guard, because I was harming the nurses, I was literally throwing hands at everybody, anybody. They didn't know if I was going to grab it, a harmless weapon and just try and, attack someone or kill someone. That's how extreme and bad it got. Long story short, they ended up diagnosing me with psychosis. They were the reason why they took a long time to diagnose me with that is because they were trying to figure out whether or not it's psychosis or paranoid schizophrenia. So to define psychosis is when you experience symptoms of paranoid schizophrenia, you're more conscious, and you can't differentiate the difference between reality and non-reality. And that's what I was experiencing.
That's what psychosis was.
Yep. And that's what it is. It's when you experience symptoms of paranoid, or not even paranoid schizophrenia, just schizophrenia, when you hallucinate like that. But what pulled me back was because, and I can honestly say it's because of God, because there'd be moments where I'd just be completely normal, and I knew what I was doing, but I couldn't control it. Whereas schizophrenia and stuff like that, you can't even control that. Like, that's out of your hands.
Yeah.
So that's what they came down to, and I spent a week and a half in the mental institute. And to be one of the youngest patients in there, honestly, I wouldn't even say that place helps you at all. I'm going to be so straight up.
Yeah, how was that experience? I'm sure that can be overwhelming.
To not even spend a week at your friend's house before, and then to just go out like that, to see your mum try and fight for you, I was so scared. And on top of being scared, I felt numb, because immediately they give you medication, and everyone gets medication, but the one I was on the highest one they could give me, because already I was trying to run away from the institute, so they had to give me something to really calm me down 24/7. Otherwise they'd inject me. And to see it was just a crazy experience. Like, I thought it would be different, just because I don't know, I just thought it would be different. I don't know why, but I'm not even kidding when I say it's like the movies. When I say it's like the movies, you could be addicted to weed. You could be someone who has sad thoughts sometimes, compared to someone who could turn around and stab the nurse. Like, when you put a lot of people with different stages of mental illnesses all in one room, it's not a good mix. We're all bouncing off each other. We have someone with depression who can easily be like, I'm sad, I think about hurting myself every day, compared to someone like me with psychosis. I'd be like, yeah, you know what, that sounds like a good idea. Like, goes and discusses it with the other patients. Like, it was a crazy experience, and that's one that I'd never wish to happen to my worst enemies. Like, to this day, I would never go back.
So after all that, I'm interested to hear, because I know for a lot of Islander families, they don't understand mental health, or they don't understand the disorders that you go through, right? So how was your whole family? So how was your family's reaction to all this, of all the things that you're going through?
Yeah, good question. My family's never been the one to talk about mental health. Always been just let aside. You're sad, get over it, go do the dishes. Just do something over it. Never really spoke on it. It took for that to happen to me, out of all my siblings, for them to take this serious, which is sad to say, because they should always, parents should always be concerned for their kids' mental health. It should be a priority. But it took for that to happen. My family's reaction was just like, wow. Out of everyone, I was known as that kid to always be happy, just all the time. So to hear them, especially hear them find out what was wrong with me. It wasn't depression. It's not just a low considered illness. It was like a, high risk. I was a high risk to society at this point. So to hear them say that, they're like, Lesieli, she's a high risk. No, that's out of it. They were very just heartbroken, especially my parents. For my mum to see her own daughter get taken away, she's just like, I'm losing my child. And then for my dad to hear about it, because he's very old school. So he was like, why is she like this? Who did this to her? Kind of mentality. Not like, it was more like, who did this? I'll handle it now. If you guys know something, you're not telling me, I'm going to take it out. And, he was very angry. And I can see why, because it got to a point where I told my sister about me getting sexually abused.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually wrote, this is a blessing. Before I was so angry about it, but the day before I went into the hospital, I wrote down all my life events on 2 pieces of paper.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so, I literally was in detail like how I'm telling you, but more like, 2017, this happened in this month and this happened and everything, like down to like when I lost my virginity, like everything was on there.
Mm-hmm.
Scrunched it up, thought I threw it in the bin. My sister got it. And then at this point, I'm in the hospital and she just gives it to my parents and they read it and they're like, wow, like very like, this has happened to our child kind of thing. We let this happen. They're very angry at themselves because when they were reading it, they're like, damn, did we let it happen? But like in my head, I'm thinking, no, it's not because of you guys, there's other things that's happening in my life. But my siblings were very, very heartbroken, especially to come and see me in hospital. I'm not even the same. I'm all drugged up. I don't even know their names. When they came in and visited me, I had to ask the nurse, like, who are they? Like, are they after me? Like, I was still in a really bad mind space. So it was a shock for everyone, really scary for my younger siblings. They hear about it in movies, like in YouTube, like, crazy lady crossing road or something. But when they see that crazy lady is your sister, you're just like, whoa, they just cried every time they see me. But yeah, they were in deep shock every day that they came to see me. And on top of that, they're trying to get me out because my sister's wedding relies on me. Excuse me, sorry. She was getting married the next week and it was in New Zealand and I was here in Australia. So if I had to act right. At the end of that week and a half, I had to pretend and get my stuff together and pretend to be normal so they could release me so I can go to her wedding. And really, they released me and I was like 10 times worse. It's really bad to say, but
Wow.
I was like, you released me. Like, so there was a lot of pressure. On my family. My sisters went like they already said, if she's not coming, we're canceling the whole wedding. You're losing money, you're going to lose family members, friends who have booked flights there. It's going to affect everybody. It's a rip. So at this point, I was still blaming myself. I'm like, if they cancel the wedding, it's because of me. I was just really blaming myself at this point. So yeah, that was my experience there, and that's how my family reacted. The reason why I say, it's not a good place, it's just when you're mixed with other people, when you have someone saying they're pregnant with 7 babies, you're not going to think, what is wrong with you? You're going to think, oh my gosh, I can't wait until you have those 7 babies. That's how you think. When you're surrounded by other people with that kind of mindset, you're going to adapt to it. You're going to think that's normal, and it's going to make you worse. I mean, that's just my experience because I've heard other people's stories. It's fine, but it honestly just depends on timing and who's in there with you.
What about like, I know your immediate family, was not understandable, but what about like your outside, like not your immediate family, the branches, something? What? Were they? What, I mean, because I'm sure like your cousins or your uncles or aunties, were they understanding the same way your immediate family was, or?
They were very understanding.
Yeah. You weren't labeled as the crazy child?
Honestly, I will say that I've always been the black sheep of my family. Like, I've always been the black sheep. I'm not known as like, she's crazy.
That's what I'm saying. You weren't lazy at that's the crazy child right there.
No, but until this day, though, I still think that some family members kind of look at me like, oh, that's the way she is now, because that's what happened to her. Kind of blame me for like the way I act and stuff. Well, that's my mental illness has nothing to do with me. Like, because if I cuss and swear on my stories, they think that, oh, she's just like that because she's switching into different personalities. Because that's one thing that I was doing too. With my I had 6 alter egos and I was switching through all of them.
Mm-hmm.
They found out about these alter egos, like, oh, maybe that's just her alter ego. When really I'm like, I can swear if I want to say. It doesn't mean that, like, you can blame my mental illness for acting this way. If I want to say something on my mind, it doesn't, just because I say something crazy doesn't mean that, oh, yep, that's just her mental illness talking. Like, no. Yeah, so I still have family members till this day that are very like, oh, yeah, she's cuckoo. And I just move past. There's no point of like arguing about it. That's what they think.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I just dismiss it. I'm like, whatever. That's you. I'm not gonna let myself get to your level of thinking that you're just not what do you call it? Educated enough.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So open. I'll post on my story, I'll post on my, whatever platform I have, and they're just not educated enough. And that's up to them how they want to take it or not. Because some of them are very like, no, she's making it up, kind of, So I just let them think. My friends are very supportive. Mm-hmm. I've never met a bunch of people who have been more supportive than, some immediate family. I have recently just moved out of my own house last year. So I moved out with 4 of the girls, and, when I had to tell them, because I'm obviously living with them, they're going to see me switch through my alter egos. They're going to see me have episodes. They're going to see me days off. They're going to see me talking to myself, everything, Plus they only got a small glimpse of what I'm like if they're just hanging out with me 2 hours throughout the week, It's different to living with me. So when I had to bring it up to them, they were so understanding. They knew how to calm me down. If I was switching into, because one of my personalities is a 5-year-old girl, and her name is 17. And when I tell you that she is a higher pitched voice and talks like a little girl, she talks like a little girl. Like the way I'm talking now is this as if you've just muted me and put like a old girl over me, and I'm like, I'm a pig, So when I had to fully explain what it was, I was educating them, and I was so happy to hear that they were more so like, how can we help you? What can we do to help you when this happens? More rather than being like, if you're going to be like that, like, I don't want to be around you, kind of, I mean. So it was really refreshing to hear me, especially younger people. Usually when you tell people these things, my age group, they're either going to be supportive or they're either going to be like, are you serious? There's worse problems out there in the world. Like it's different. Everyone handles things differently, but I feel like my age group, they're very like, well, you're just doing this for attention. They automatically assume you're just doing this for the wrong reasons, or especially with my case, it was I'm very much take me and well, don't take me at all. You had to. Yeah.
So you have multiple personalities?
Yes, I have 7.
Many? Oh, 7.
Yep.
Do you want to share like all 7? What's the difference between all 7?
Yeah, sure. So I have 7. One of them is a male. The other 6 are females.
Yeah.
Their ages. So one thing about when I say alter egos or personalities, it's really a personality. And I'm talking like, because some people might think, oh, it's just a phase that I go through. No. Till this day, I still experience it. When I say I'm in a personality, you will know. It's like you're meeting me. So this could be a personality, but this is just me, right?
Yeah,
Just do not think it's that I'm putting it on or anything. So I start off with the male, and it's my brother.
Okay.
His name is David, same age as my brother, deep voice. It's like a male, like, a typical male, like, it's like a male, like, wants to be staunch, whatever. Well, that's my brother. I've come to conclusion, or my psychologist has come to conclusion that I've taken him on because when my dad left, he was my father figure. So
gotcha.
And it's so strange to me as well. When I'm David, I'm quite like him. My brother's very introverted, very cute, like to himself. I'm naturally bubbly, talkative, whatever. He's just very like to himself, like replies with short answers, doesn't like cake and tomatoes, I don't think. So I don't like cake and tomatoes when I'm David. I want you to, right? But naturally myself, I'll eat anything. I'm not picky. I'm not allergic to anything. But I'll freaking vomit if I eat cake and I'm David. That's how much it really takes over me. And I'm conscious when I when I switch into these personalities.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I just let it happen. I can't really control. The more I try and control it, the more out of hand it gets. So for me, it's David, same age as my brother. I like to be called David. That's the thing. Sorry, I just I but laugh when I just talk about it, and I don't mind because I'm talking about myself.
Yeah.
It's just so then you got Rachel. Rachel's a church girl. I was very churchy as a child.
Yeah.
Mormon. Rachel only hangs out with white people. I grew up in a ward, mainly white people. We were the only brown people. A church girl. All of a sudden, she just says all these inspirational church Bible verses, like just randomly, very like, oh, I didn't say that word, like very just innocent, very pure. And when I'm in these personalities, you can very much tell that it's like, you cannot tell that I'm, it's just a personality. But you really believe that it's someone else. And I've seen it because people recorded me, and it, like, to me, I was like, oh my, who the hell, like damn, that's David. Like, it's scary, but interesting because I'm educating myself. So you got Rachel, that's 2. You got It Girl Ellie. I'm so sorry. It's just strange to me because I've never spoken about this in public.
Yeah.
About this to friends, and they all can be like, oh yeah, I know It Girl Ellie, but for me to like say it out loud, it's just kind of crazy. But It Girl Ellie, that's my name. That's where I got it from.
Is that your musician personality, or is that just separate?
Sorry?
Is that your musician?
Yeah, that's its own personality. It Girl Ellie is something that actually just came along, I'd say 3 years ago.
Okay.
So my name is Lesieli, but people couldn't. I just took that on as an extra personality, and because of then everyone now, like all my friends, I have different friends that cater to all 7 personalities. They're all different. And this can you hear me? Sorry.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, it's kind of buffering. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I just go back to this personality. It Girl Ellie, she's 20-old rebellious girl.
Mm-hmm.
She got me into music. She's put herself in situations. She likes being in the hood. She likes being, causing trouble, and then just looking like a female who doesn't cause trouble. She's the one that got me into smoking. She smokes. She's the one that likes to just party animal, very much party animal. And a lot of my friends know me as Ellie because I'm the very talkative one. So I'll literally introduce myself as Ellie to a lot of people. And a lot of people know me just as that personality. A lot of people know me just as Rachel, and a lot of people know me like, that's the chick who thinks she's a guy. And that's David, because David's the one I make most friends with guys. That's how I get along. Yeah. And so that's the 3. I've got one called Fit Chick. She is utterly obsessed. It's a 27-year-old who's utterly obsessed with gym. And I think this stems back from me gaining weight and then losing weight. I think that's where I got it from. And now that I think all 7 of these personalities I actually do like, well, it's just if you grab a microscope, microscope and just put into my actual personality, it splits it into all these, 7 personalities, and that's just its own individual one. Mm-hmm. It's just utterly obsessed, will instantly change. I could go from being David, not eating cake and tomatoes, to being Fit Chick. Will go out of my way, careless with money, like acts like I have no money in the world, and will spend $400 on freaking healthy foods. And then minutes I'm back to being Rachel, and I'm like, who the hell, like, what all these, like, I don't even eat freaking lean meat, and I want to buy $15 worth of it. So she's very much, her passion, her goal in life is to compete in bikini bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. So there'll be phases where my weight fluctuates, and I'll be very muscly, very thin when I'm in Fit Chick, and then I'll go back to the other one and I'll instantly gain weight. So I still have troubles trying to maintain that. The other one is Miss Universe. Miss Universe actually stemmed from how I was supposed to do Miss Donga, Australia. Yeah. I've always done I've done pageants when I was younger. I've always liked being in front of a camera. But for some reason, doing the Miss Gonga Pageant Australia thing just really triggered her to be her own personality. Like, she thinks that she's competing for Miss World. Like, when she's in front of a camera, she helps me actually when I film my music videos and stuff like that. She has this thing with Kelly's very dainty. She walks, thinks she's the shit, just literally preparing. Imagine that. She barely comes out, but when it's a camera and it's like a music video, she's the one that's to come out. So yeah, I got them 5. The other 2 mainly drift off, but they kind of change. I haven't put a name on them. I think and when I say hippie, I mean, like, I'd like to be called these things. I don't turn around to Ellie. I'll turn around if you call me hippie. Hippie is when I'm just in this universal kind of like all about energy, all about vibes, all about crystals and stuff. And I have some interest, but not a lot of interest in it. She will dedicate her life to it. Like, she will go out of her way, and if she sees a number 111 on a board, she'll be like, it's the universal. Yeah, like, so she's very much into that, very much like very supportive. She's an introvert, very quiet, very soft-spoken, very flowy. Her clothes change, and mind you, like, you got to think, all these personalities, they all dress different. So you best believe that in my closet, I have stuff that I just pick up and I'm like, what? Who the hell? I wouldn't even, like, whose clothes is this? Like, really, it's freaking like Fit Chicks or So the other one drifts off. I'd actually consider saying I only have 6, because I had 7, but I don't really, if I'm not consistently switching into that one, then I won't even say it's a personality. I'm just saying I'm just getting better.
So what determines you, like, how do you, like, do you control when do you switch, or is it, like, how do you determine that? Is it triggered by a certain, depending on the situation you're in, or do you have full control over when and when, what time and when you want to switch into a certain personality?
I have no control over it. I have no control. It's almost as if I'm watching myself act this way. So it's almost got they've all got their own way of thinking, like their own brain, but see, I can't even say I can control it. I cannot control it. It
just comes.
Yep. Each have their own trigger. Like, say for 17, the 5-year-old girl, I could easily look at, because she's obsessed with pigs. This 5-year-old girl, as a kid, like, I was always like toys and stuff like that. Very obsessed with pigs. Very bubbly, very friendly. And I'm just going to bring this up really quickly as well. I was always scared to ask my mum for permission, always scared, because I just knew the answer. I knew she didn't have time. I knew she didn't have money. So for me, it's like, why bother asking her at a friend's house? She's going to say no. Because I had that, when I switch into number 5, when I switch into 17, I tend to ask people for permission. So I was like in my house, I looked up to her as a mum because she has a mother-like nature. When I switched into that, I'd look up to her as a mum and be like, can I have this, can I have a pig or something like that? But what would trigger me most is seeing like little fluffy toys. If I were to go past, say, toy store, I know, because I know how I am. I know when I switch, I can just feel myself getting really excited and slowly turning into 17. And that's what triggers me, especially seeing little, hearing, even my nephew or my niece, if I hear them, they're like, can I go to the shops? Like, I would hold back and I have to take a breather. Come on. Like, can I have a pig? Like, it's hard because, like, I'm a 21-year-old adult acting like a child. And I compare it so much to my nephew, and he triggers me a lot too. Like, he could just be playing in the dirt, and then all of a sudden, you see me fully dressed up, makeup and everything, and then I'm in the freaking dirt playing with my nephew. So yes, it's stuffy toys. That's what triggers me the most for, like, what is that persona? But for all of them, it triggers different things. Trigger me, for all of them.
But when you do switch, you're conscious of it, right?
Yep.
So you know when you're switching, but it just happens.
Yeah, I know when I'm switching. I know what it feels like, but sometimes it just like I just switch within say today I'll be this person, the next 5 minutes I'll be the other. Sometimes I don't know.
Okay.
I just play along with it, and I don't know until when I'm back to normal, and then they're like, "Are you okay? Because you just switched into David, and we're getting our nails done." Yeah. It's not. They say stuff like that, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." Yeah. That's how I know.
So I know for a lot of people, this is for a lot of people that's watching this right now, this is for me, this is the first time I've ever talked to somebody. I have heard of your condition before, but I've never talked to somebody that actually had it.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just it's interesting just to hear directly from somebody that's going through it. But I want to ask you, did your psychologist ever explain to you why you have these multiple personalities?
Why I have them?
Yeah,
Yep. Sorry, I'm just really just hallucinating right now. I also do want to say that they did try to diagnose me with DID, multiple personality disorder, but because of my psychosis, those are different to me having these personalities. I don't hallucinate when I'm having these personalities. It's different. So I haven't been diagnosed with that, but if they said if that carries on any longer and you don't get diagnosed, you will probably end up having it. And I honestly believe I do, but I'm not going to let that get the best of me. But back to your question, I'm so sorry. I just forgot your question. I just blanked out.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, did your psychologist ever explain to you the reason why you developed 7 multiple personalities?
So that's right. Well, I found out from my psychologist that it's the reason why I just get all these personalities to come out is because I've been so traumatized. So much things have happened to me that I want to suppress. I don't want to think or remember those memories. So I just all of a sudden have these personalities that just come out and just remember it for me, because as soon as those personalities go away, they take that memory with them. It's not me.
Okay.
Yeah, but they handle it for me. It's kind of like, I don't want to deal with it. You deal with it, kind of thing.
So
me.
So when you're in a specific personality, you can't remember the memories of another personality.
No. It's its own.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, it's its own person. And it's because if you were to look at my Instagram, people could see it the way I was posting. I would go on Instagram, fully post negative vibes, like I'm not into violence. And then the next day I'll post something like Iko Ellie would post F y'all, I'm out here trapping, or something some bullshit, something like that. But yeah, it's all, especially if I'm going through something, if I'm going through something with a guy, I'll switch into Iko Ellie because I know she's very ruthless. She doesn't really care to what people think. So she'll go and do things to kind of gain temporary satisfaction because that's what pleases her. She knows that, she'll just get over in And I'd rather her take over that than for me to actually deal with it and actually be sad and face and deal with my feelings, face up. I'd rather quickly, and these come naturally too. I know when I am dealing with something, it's like my brain selects, you're in a game and you select the weapon. It's like that. It's like I'm selecting a personality to just come out and just, okay, it's your turn. You go now. You deal with it. She doesn't want to deal with it.
Yeah, and you did. So since you mentioned guys, so how is your relationship? So when you try to have relationships with try to go into dating, is it? I mean, do you let them know of your personalities, or you don't reveal that information until you get to know them a little bit more?
Because it's such a big part of me, it took me a long time to determine whether or not I actually want to, discuss that with a potential partner or something. So I started off in not even saying it at all. And like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's a female thing, but I expected them to read my mind and be like, I just kind of let these things like my persona just happen, and for them to be like, oh, okay, well, she's feisty today, but she, I'm like, so guessing kind of thing.
So
but now,
so when you meet a guy, or when you meet a guy you're attracted to, or when you want to date somebody, which personality that you take? Is it your normal self, or do you have to switch into a different personality?
Well, honestly, it goes back because each of my personalities are into different guys, and I'm into different guys as well. But they're all very selective. Yeah. So if I'm in like, if I'm in girl Ellie, she's very much into like, you have to be from the hood, typical, like, oh, he's bad. Like, I want that. Whereas like hippie is like, I want someone who's like a freaking barista, who travels in a caravan, who drinks coffee on weekends and eats organic things. Like they're all very much hippie. But that's naturally me. I've always been like that when I was younger. I've been open to dating, not just Polynesian men, white men, and different kind of men. But it just honestly depends. But when I first wanted to start dating, Iko Ellie came out a lot. And I just in the wrong kind of crowd.
Is that when you were in Woodridge?
Yeah. I was such a long friends, and that's why it's my Instagram now, because I made my Instagram when I was her, and like a lot of people know me as Iko Ellie, so that's like she's mainly like plays a big part in my life, because but with dating she tends to come out because she's more like, you take me as I am, we'll leave it. Whereas normally me, I'm just, I can compromise, like, oh, okay, like I'll be more lenient with Iko Ellie's. No, you blah 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 blah. Very much like that. And before I used to be very scared of just telling, and I'm very cautious. I'm still this day, I'm very picky with who I tell. I don't just tell them immediately, because it can become quite a scare to them. Like, I don't want to scare them off, because I don't expect every guy I come across to be like, I so understand that sometimes I'll be talking.
Yeah. So have you scared some guys?
Some guys, no.
Yeah.
Lucky enough, because I'll either be talking about this as a friend, or unless I've been seeing them for a few months or something. But another thing that actually happened in my life that plays a big part is because I actually fell pregnant in 2019, December.
Okay. Yeah.
So I felt pregnant. I was taken advantage of at the time. That's how I felt pregnant. And not only did I fall pregnant to just one kid, it was twins.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Twins, yep. Miscarried at 10 weeks, but I mean,
Hello? You hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? 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 Hello?
Oh,
we are good. Okay.
I don't know what happened there.
I think the connection.
Oh, okay. Is it on my end?
Yeah, I think it's from I think it was coming from your end. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. I understand. So to pick it back where we left off, you were talking about you were pregnant in 2019 with twins.
Yep. So I felt pregnant back then, and that's when Ellie just really came through for me. I was really depressed after, not only because I've just rebelled against my family, I've just, lost my first, it's my first experience. I know it's not the way that every parent wants their child, to experience, or it's not even the way I wanted to happen. But to experience that, I was just really depressed, almost suicidal. And I've been suicidal in the past, but like to really just be like, I lost my kids. I have nothing going for me. That's when Ellie kind of just really came through and was just pushing that emotion to the side. She really helped me, be like, shit happens. You couldn't even control it. You didn't even have a choice. It just happens, reason. So Ellie really is really helpful. I'm so actually really grateful. I look at it as a blessing to have these personalities, because they kind of come through when I don't even want to deal with it. They come through and they just take over that emotion. Like, you know what, you can have a break. I'll come through and I'll deal with this now. And it's good too, because I don't even remember. As I wish that, I can remember what I'm like in these personalities, but they really come through when I need them. And then the day of,
Yeah. So for you, whenever you meet a guy in a relationship, it's always going to be the Igro Ellie personality.
Not always. The majority of the time, I'm only just learning to just not let them come out, not let my personalities come out. I try and avoid like certain topics with men. So if I can talk to a guy and I'll be really like, just like, talk about experiences. And if they all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, because I rubbed this door when I was younger, like, bam, Ellie's like, okay, well, I wanted to. Yeah, so I ignore certain topics when.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my tactic of avoiding certain topics if I know it's going to trigger me to, come out. Because, like, in my head, I'm thinking, like, oh, okay, yeah, that's your experience. And then turn around, I'm like, well, this is my experience.
But so I'm sure you've gone on dates and you start off with yourself, and then throughout the day, it just switches by itself.
Yeah, that's before. And it happened with my ex. I dated them for about 5 months. It wasn't very long, but I confided in them enough to tell them about it.
Yeah.
They really didn't know how to handle it, like, especially if,
Yeah, what was his response? What was his reaction when you finally told him?
He was very, like, understanding. He was more like, what can I do to help you? But then when I'd switch, I can't expect him to immediately know how to handle me. He was more scared, but just worried for me. He was very much, are you in a safe area kind of thing. And it was hard to, it's crazy for me to even think or even say, but like, you've got a jealous partner that's already jealous of other men. And then you got me here like, yo, I'm David, like, thinking, it's like, like, especially if I'm like, yo, bro, like, because David likes to play games. Like, so I'm very like, I just laugh about these things. It's because I know.
Yeah.
It's no harm. It's
Yeah.
But yeah, he was very threatened by that. I was just, and I'm just like, chill. It's not like I'm a full-on male. I just think I'm a male. Like, so it was very hard. Like, especially because I clicked well with guys, and especially his personality. He was very much introverted. So for me, David was quite comfortable enough to come out and just be like, oh, he's a cool dude. Because David could make friends with him. And so can I. Like, he had troubles. Especially if he's like, imagine, calling me babe, and I'm like, you what? Like,
call me boy.
Yeah, I'm like, please, bye. And then 5 seconds,
Uh,
like I want skills or something. It was very.
oh,
I
oh,
was really,
wow.
but
Was he
I
was he
can't,
was he the only one that you've ever told about your
um
personalities? As far as
second.
like people, second guys. Oh, this is the second guy you've told.
I pushed for him to know because the first time was the guy I felt pregnant to, and he kind of
Okay.
just pushes like, oh, okay, that's what's wrong with you. That's what's wrong with you. I'm not going to talk about it with you. Whereas I kind of wanted him to be like, I want you to understand, because if this happens, don't take it. It's not my fault. That's where I was coming from. I wanted them to understand. But then I realized when it didn't work the first time, I was thinking, you know what, I want to wait for the right person. And, I want them to be able to ask me. I want them to know if something's wrong. And I want them to ask me, look, I noticed this and that. Like, are you okay? And then I'd go into it. I don't want to force that subject onto them. Because it's a big name someone,
Yeah.
it's not common. So it was very hard for me. But my current partner now, I hardly go switch through these personalities anymore. It's kind of just dropped off within the last 8 months or so. I've dealt with it so well. If anything, the only people I switch into is Ellie and 17. And he deals with it very well. He adores both of them, and he takes it like it's actually 2 different people. Like, he's very much like, oh, like, that's very adorable. And then if I switch into Ellie, it's like, okay,
Oh, okay. So he's learned to recognize it
yeah,
as soon as he switch. Oh, okay. He has awareness.
well.
He has the awareness to recognize the
Yeah.
personalities. Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, oh wow. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. By the way, thank you for sharing that. That's no, because I do understand that. I'm pretty sure that you're not the only
Yeah.
Pacific Islander that has this. I'm sure there are unonly people, but I'm sure there's other Pacific Islanders and Polynesians out there that's going through it. And I know our community, we rarely talk about mental health, and nobody wants to talk. Nobody wants to talk about it, or people don't take time to learn about it.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's really important to learn about these things, and this is a reality. There are people out there, and Pacific Islanders out there, that's going through mental illnesses. But I feel like that we shouldn't. I know as Polynesian, we're quick to kind of like judge and criticize and kind of like ostracize them from our community. So yeah, thank you for sharing it. Thank you for sharing your multiple personalities with us.
I'm not trying to scare anybody.
Yeah. So I do want to ask you, because I know this is your first time sharing this. What made you feel like that you wanted to come on this podcast and wanted to share this part of you?
Because I was thinking, I was comparing it to my situation, and like I said before, I don't want this to happen to someone else, and then that's what it takes for their family to take mental illness serious. I don't want it to the point where it's it's gone that extreme that their family's like, wow, now we have to take, it doesn't have to take for an event like that to happen for them to take mental illness serious. There's steps and things that could be taken along the way from it, and it just sucks because I know it's so common in the Polynesian community for us to dismiss and put it on, sweep it under the rug kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
What can happen? I'm a real living life example of what can happen if you don't take those things seriously, or if you don't speak up. Don't ever be up. It just makes things worse. And always trust. If you think that something has happened, really analyze, and if that's what you believe, that's what you believe. No one can change that. No one can tell you your life. So yeah, I really want to go out there and like push for that to happen, because honestly, I've come across so many people where I've told them things and they're like, oh my gosh, I know someone who has experienced the same thing, but they're scared, or like they've never spoken about it. I'm like, well, look at me, don't let it get to a point where you're like me, you can't control yourself, literally.
Okay. Have you shared it? Oh yeah. Yeah, I probably know the answer. Yeah, I was asking, have you shared it on your public social media? Probably not, huh?
Yeah.
You have? Oh, you have?
Not like into details, like not
okay. Okay. Yeah.
But I look. Sometimes I'll screen record videos on YouTube. What is psychosis? I will fully screen record and I'll post it, and I'll post polls as well. And I'm like, have you experienced symptoms like this before? Because I have. And then I'll go like, I'll screenshot what this is, and then I'll do it in a way where it's not like in your face. I do it in a way educating, because some people, and a lot of people are like, damn, I didn't know that you experience these things because the way you handle yourself. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I mean. Well, don't judge a book by its cover, Yeah.
Okay.
Things as well.
Well,
it's good.
Yeah. Well, I'll say thank you for sharing, and it was fun learning a different person. All right, so I do want to talk a little bit more. I'm very interested to hear your Ego Ellie. I know you do. I know you have a passion for music.
Yeah.
So how did that originate, and tell me more about it. Yeah.
Sure. So my music journey only started last year in about around this time, actually, April. I didn't even want to do music. It wasn't something that I was, like, I want to be a singer when I'm older. Like, it was just one of those things that just happened to be like come along my journey, and now it is my journey. I've always liked music when I was younger. I've always taken different instruments. I've always done choir. I did violin. I did piano, guitar, everything. You can name it. I sang on stage before, and it was a hobby. I knew I could sing, but I wasn't like, oh yeah, I can sing. I'm gonna hop in the studio, kind of, have connections at this point. But out of nowhere, randomly, a friend of a friend reached out to me and was like, hey, are you free? And I was like, yeah, I'm free. And he's like, well, do you want to come studio? And I was like, I didn't think anything of it. I didn't even think, oh, I sing, maybe I can hop on a track. I was just thinking, I'm a friend of his. I'm going to go and support him. At the time too. So I was helping pick him up, taking him to the studio. So when I went there and I found out he was rapping and I went in, it was like a feeling of such a, that feeling when you achieve something so great and you just feel like, oh my gosh, it just feels so right.
Yeah.
It's like, you're in the right place in the right time, and like this, you just know the right thing for you. And that is literally what I got. Like, I got goosebumps when I walked into the studio, when he was like the first 5 minutes of him like singing and everything. I was thinking, like, wow, what is this feeling? Why do I feel like this? I didn't even want to sing now. If he asked me to, I wouldn't. But I love this feeling. Like, what is it? Almost like adrenaline. And then that's how it started. I just started supporting him. 2 months go by and he jumps on this track. Mind you, this guy's a rapper. So for a rapper to want to sing and they can't, you're just like catch artists to paint, a freaking Leonardo DiCaprio, like it's just, they do music, but that's not their, that's not what they're good at. So yeah, all it took was for him to try and sing, and I knew I could sing. I still didn't offer. I still didn't put myself in a position where I was like, pick me.
Yeah.
But the producer just turned around randomly and he's like, you look like someone that can sing. And I was like, do you know what? You're right. Right, I can't. And
is that when Ego Ellie came out?
That's what. And I just remember of having this feeling like, oh my gosh, now is the time for me to shine. Like, that's all I was thinking. I was like, I've always wanted, because Ego Ellie can sing. She's not afraid of singing. She can go to karaoke bar and be like have 5 songs top of her head and memorize. Like, she can do it. Whereas me, I'm like, I'll get stage fright. Like, I'm very like, I'm shy. She came out and she was just like, yes. So then I asked my artist, my rapper, I said, do you want me to sing on this? Because he tried singing the verse. Well, first of all, he's tried to sing, but he didn't even know, like, he didn't have anything written for the chorus. And that's the song that's in my bio. That's my first track. And I didn't even know, like, I could barely pick and choose what name to write down on information sheets. So what makes me think that I can come and, I don't know, but something within me is like, give it a go. Like, there was like a small voice. I was just like, kind of like my guide. It was just like, come on, like, it's just give it a go. There's no harm in doing it. If you suck at it, you suck at it. Move on. No one's gonna like being not good at writing. So within the first 10 minutes, I wrote that chorus and I sang it, and like I literally was like, taken back. And mind you, I'm singing this in it, girl Ellie. Mind you, my voice sounds the same when I'm singing in all of them, besides 17 cannot sing, and David. But yeah, when I sang in the studio, I just got chills. And like, when he played it back, I was myself, and I'm like, damn, like, oh my gosh. It was like I was listening to someone else sing, all honesty, and I still get that too. When I write something or I sing something, and I'm like, why am I like this? I'm like, that's not me. I can't even rhyme. Like, and I can write that. So that's how it all started. And from that day, when they played it back, and to hear other people, because that's another thing I got bullied for, was singing, and they tried to, like, you know, they just said I couldn't sing. So I stuck with that. To hear other people be like, damn, you have potential, like, to hear them, and a part of you wants to kind of, you know, try music out, to hear them say that, I was like, okay, fine, I'm going to push for it. I'm going to do music. Then, yeah, from that one recording, we did the music video and everything, and I just had my own sessions, and that's how my music journey started. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it started. It Girl Ellie really comes out, especially when it's got to do with filming and stuff like that. Instantly, just she comes out, and she's just, you know, how people like Beyonce, she has Sasha Fierce, like, you know, that alter ego that comes out.
Yeah.
It is mine. She really comes out, and my family know that too.
Can we get a sample?
Oh, at the end, yeah.
So what type of music do you, is it R&B? Is it like, what kind of music do you sing?
I'm honestly, whatever my ears like, I like. If it's got a good bass, then I end up liking the song. If there's one thing I don't and can't see myself doing, it's country music.
Yeah.
David doesn't like music. All of a sudden, I like country music because all melodies, they all like different music. I'm saying I can go from screamo to techno to disco ball to EDM, and then all of a sudden I'm listening to like Eminem or something. Like, I like different genres. I like everything. I'm not really like, I don't like this, I don't like that. And you can hear I make, like, I'm in the middle of making like an R&B kind of chill house vibe kind of music.
Yeah.
Might be different, or I can switch into, you know, 15 next week, and then all of a sudden I'm freaking singing something that sounds like ABC. Like, it's just different.
Yeah.
But I may gravitate towards R&B, soul
music. Okay. So you write your own music too?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, nice.
I write all my music, come up with my own melodies. I'm a single individual independent artist. I'm, you know, not looking at getting signed. I just want to go my own rules. Especially dealing with this, I don't, you know, I just think it'd be too much to be under a certain management and to have someone to tell me like to do things, and then I'm just like, I don't want to. I'm very much like that.
Okay, so what do you see yourself with your music? Are you planning to take it somewhere, or?
Yeah, I've had to think about it, and as much as I want to just keep it, you know, make a name for myself in Australia and New Zealand, I do want to be international. I do want to be known. I want my music to be able to be I want my music, when people listen to my music, I want them from different countries to be able to relate to my music, not just Brisbane or Australia, you know. I don't want them to be like, oh yeah, like, she's talking about because this happened in Australia, or she's talking like she's referring to just stuff that happens in Australia. No, I want my music to be played in, you know, in America and Zimbabwe, whatever you want to play it.
Yeah,
I want you feel the same emotion and relate to it, not just in specific areas, you know, area. Yeah, so I do want to be well known. Whether I make money or not, I still want to make a name like that for myself.
So when you write your songs, how much of like personal life experiences go into the lyrics and to the songs you make?
So with me, every artist is different, but with me, I tend to write things that I have gone through.
Yeah.
You know, more I can relate to something. People can feel whether it's true or not, believe it or not. even have to know the artist, and you can feel through the music, through what they're saying, through the beat or whatever, you know, how much is true, and like whether or not, you know, it depends on how much they feel through the music. It goes with, just because you can listen to it doesn't mean you can't feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I write things, I tend to go back to experience I've experienced. Like there's a song that I've written, it's called Piece of Your Heart, and it's based on a toxic relationship. And not only that, if I see it happening around me, it's even easier for me to write about it. But I can't just, like, I can't sit here and just make something up, but it's best to know, like, if I've experienced something, it's coming all, it's real and raw. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's always like the best songs you hear, like music artists always comes from like a personal experience.
Yeah, and then I don't have to even think or take much time writing it down because I know what I'm going to write down.
Do you remember the lyrics for that song?
Yeah.
Can you repeat them? I just want to hear it.
Really?
Yeah, my audience wants to hear it. Yeah, I want to hear it.
Okay. Okay.
What's the name? So what's the name of the song first? What's the name of the song?
Piece of Your Heart. So it's
Piece
about
Piece of Your Heart. Okay, go ahead.
Whether you're your friend or like a partner, and you're just trying to find that piece of the heart. You know, it's just not working out, but you're just trying to find that something to fix it so you guys can just get, you know, stronger. So yeah, so it goes, trying to find a piece of your heart cause it's broken, let me fix it. Trying to break free from this thing called reality, it's just bullshit. Follow me away into the sunset, beautiful sky, I'm begging you to stay. Come with me here right now, let's fly away. That's just in it, like a...
Okay, I see you. No, that was great.
Yeah, so I'll write something like that, and it's because, like, you know, I've experienced it, or other relationships, and I can just look at it and be like, damn, because I'm an empath. I'll really, like, if you're feeling like that, then I'll pick it up, and I'm feeling like that now.
Yeah.
So what makes this music easier for me?
Yeah. Does music do anything more besides, like, you know, I know it's something you enjoy, but is there more to it? Like, you know, sometimes I do listen to a lot of artists that music is something like it's therapeutic, like it heals their soul, heals their whatever they're going through. That's the same effect for you?
It does, and it has that effect on me. Before I even went to the studio, I was definitely that type of person that would get a song to like fit the mode, like whatever I was feeling now, I'd find a song that like would really bring out that emotion in me, and that's the only way I'd feel better. So like now if I find I'm really sad, oh yeah, I'll put on a song, and it's mainly my, especially if I know I wrote about something I know I've written about, then I'll put it on. I'm like damn, like it's really been hitting me deep today or something. Like, especially I cannot drive without listening to a song. Especially gives me that especially because it helps with my psychosis. It helps distract me from hallucinating. If I can like sing the lyrics or the words to a song and I'm driving, I'll just drive normal. If I don't have music, I'm literally sitting in the car and I'm like, I don't even know, I'm going to drive because I already know. You know, it's like, I don't even know, like, yeah, but music is, and my family already, like my dad is very big on music. My grandma can sing. My mum can sing. So I've always been brought around music. It's such a good feeling, you know. We can bring our family together. We can all get into a fight and then one song we'll sing along and we're like, okay, we're just being dramatic or something. But yeah, music plays a big part of my life now. Yeah.
Okay. Who do you draw? Who's your favorite artist that you kind of like draw inspiration from?
To be quite honest, I don't have a favorite artist. I've never had a favorite. Never, not even ever. Okay. Because you know, every artist is different. I can't even compare them to each other. They're all different.
But who's an artist that, you know, we typically like their songs?
Rihanna.
Oh, okay.
And that's something big. if one person, I want to be. I like that she can just go from being like F you to being like all lovey-dovey, and then to being like, all about confidence. Like she talks about a lot of the like different topics. It's never just party.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I like, because I don't want songs to just be specifically, but I want it things.
What did your family think when you wanted to be go into the music industry, music business? Because I know they're already trying to deal with you with your multiple personalities, but now you're adding.
They were very much like, oh, okay. Like, like they honestly blame them, because I'm the type of person that likes to experience like different things. I can paint, I can sculpture. Like I'm just the type of person that likes learning and doing a lot of different things. So they thought it was just another hobby. But then when I like fully came, they didn't even know I was like gonna come out with a music video clip, and they're like, oh damn, like okay, she's serious. But they were more so like, just be careful. The more worried, like, the music industry can be a bit wild, especially this young day and age. Like we can't know what you're doing all the time. You're gonna be put in situations where you just can't even control what's happening around you, aka drugs like that. So they were more so like, be wary of your surroundings and environment. If you want to do this seriously, okay, you need to think. If you want to keep doing music, then you need to keep working. There's no excuses. If you can put money in for working, then you can put money in for, looking after your car or stuff like that. They were very much like that, supportive, but still they kind of, is this what you really want? Because as much money is going in, is that you're getting any money back? That's not even the thing I care about. It's something I love singing. I don't care if I get money or not from it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was. They thought it was just personality. So if you thought like, oh, that is just my personality, but then I played. Some people really used to sing in front of them. So for me to hear them go like they were just like laughing about it, but then also like, okay, she's got to tell me. Yeah.
So are you is your family like, I know you mentioned you're Mormon. Is your family like pretty hardcore Mormon, like, or
because my dad's Catholic.
Okay, that's Catholic.
Yeah, my dad's Catholic, so he's always smoked and drank in front of us. My mom and her siblings and her parents included, all very Mormon. And then to have us kids, like our household, if we decide to go to church, then like, we'll go to church. But then like all of my siblings, me and my siblings, we all smoke and drink. So I wouldn't even say the Mormon. We're baptized.
You're the modern Mormon. That's just joking.
Yeah. Time moment. Yeah. Stuff, don't get me wrong, we all pray and stuff, but I wouldn't consider this household a typical Mormon house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you wanted to ask me talk about passion, since we were talking about you were talking about your passion for music. Mm-hmm. But yeah, what was your but you wanted to ask about your question about passion? What did you want to ask?
Yes. Is this just for everyone or for you, Mac?
For it's up to you. Whatever question you want to ask. I know you brought it up. You wanted to talk about it, so I'm opening it up to you.
Well, one of like the questions that still sticks with me to this day is like, how did you find your passion? How did you know that was your passion? Because for me, like, it took for that to happen for me to be like, oh wow, that's my passion. I figured it out along the way. Some people are lucky in a way where they know from when they're young age, say like, for example, if they know passion, like ice skating is their passion, they know, like, it's not just something easily just pick and choose. It's not a hobby. When you say a passion, you're fully devoted to that. It's a time and effort and love goes into that. So I'm passionate about singing, and it makes me wonder like how other people find their passion and how they know what their passion, like if that's really their passion or if it's just something that they're liking or into at the time.
Yeah. So, it's very tricky because like when it comes to passion and finding it, it's really different for everybody.
Yeah.
But I guess to give the most simplistic answer is, for me, a passion is something that, um, the best way to say it is something you would love to do and nobody will have to pay you to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
That's a
know,
good way.
so that's the way I see a passion. And for some people, like you said, like there's some people that they can figure out what that is, at a very early stage of their life. Some people, but most of us, like, some people just know they were blessed with, like, they can sing or they can dance or they can. So some people know their passion or what they love to do at an early part of their life. But for most people, you have to. This is what I always say to people: like when you try to find your passion, you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And the way you figure that out is you have to try things. So,
Mhm.
like, perfect example is like if you have a passion for music, right, and that's what you love to do, but maybe you don't have the voice that you have. All right. But the thing is, the great thing about life and opportunity today is there's so many opportunities, whatever thing you like to do. So if you love music, you don't always have to be a singer. You can be a producer. You can be a songwriter. There's so many things that you can do with whatever you're interested in. But I think what I always tell people is, if you don't know what to do, if you don't know what your passion is, because for me, what I'm doing today, it wasn't something I planned,
Mm.
early in my life. It was something that just evolved as I grew.
Yeah.
For me, one of the things that I've always loved to do early in my life was just, helping people.
Yeah.
So I didn't know specifically what I was gonna do, but I knew within me that I like to help people. Um, I like to motivate people, but I didn't know how that was gonna turn out specifically. So what I did was I just tried different things. Anything that was involved into helping people, I just tried so many things. And then by trial and error, I figured out what I didn't like and what I don't like. And I feel
Yeah.
like the reason why a lot of people never fully find out their real passion, because I feel like most people are not trying enough. Is they try one time and it didn't work out and they give up
Yeah.
too easily.
Yeah.
So, for you, you know exactly what you want. You want to be a singer. So you already know that at an early age. Uh, but the thing is, you have some kind of talent, right?
Mm.
So the thing is, when you're blessed with talent, it's really easy to know your passion. All right.
Yeah.
So
That's very true.
so if you're born like, for a guy, if you're born with physical, if you're hella big and tall, yeah, naturally you're gonna have a passion for sports. So it's really
Yeah.
easy. So it's
True.
really easy. If you have a good, like a beautiful voice like you, like it's easy. Like when you're blessed with talent, it's easy to kind of know what that passion is, especially because you're gonna be really good at it.
That's
But
very true.
for me, I'm very proud to say that I don't have any talent. Like I wasn't
Mm.
blessed with anything. So the way I figured out what I love to do is just do work,
Yeah.
effort, and that's the majority of people today. If you're listening to this, if you don't have specific talent, I know a lot of times that that we would get discouraged because we look like you said, social media. We look at all
Mm.
these people singing, dancing, and we kind of compare ourselves to it. So we look at ourselves. Okay, I can't sing, I can't dance. Maybe I'm not talented. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not meant to achieve something great in this life. But we all have something that we're great at. So
Yeah.
so if you don't have physical talent, we all have. Like I always tell people, there's always something. We all have something that we can do better than most people.
Yeah.
Whether it's cooking, it could be cleaning, it could be making videos, it could be anything, right? Um, but you have to figure out what that is, and the only way you can figure that out is just try. And
Yeah.
yeah, but I think that's one of the hardest. I think that's why people never find out their passion, especially if it's not recognized, or they're not aware of it, or they don't know what it is. I believe most people are not trying enough, and that's why they never figure out what they do or what they're good at. Um, yeah,
Right.
because
Very much.
if you would have told me that I would be into podcasting like 10 years ago when I was 21, uh, you know, then I wouldn't, I'll probably laugh at you. I'm like, because 10
Yeah.
years, Because 10 years ago, I didn't even know what podcasting was.
I think it's out of it. Yeah.
But yeah, I just knew what I know. For me, I've always loved helping people, and any opportunity that came into my life that was an opportunity for me to go into and help people, I took it.
Wow,
and then
cool.
and then one thing led to another, and then I found I met certain people, surround myself with the right people, and then and that led me to podcasting. And when I found podcasting, that was like, remember you said that feeling, in the right place in the right time when you were at the studio.
Yeah.
Right. So when I found podcasting, I was like, that's when it clicked. I was like, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
This is something I've been looking for all these years, and I finally found it. And then once I found it, it was like, oh, I went all in. I'm going all in. I'm going all in it. So, and that's the thing. Like, and I guess sometimes I always tell people, like, I feel like sometimes social media romanticizes passion. So it's something that, so we feel like it's like so romantic. Your passion is gonna come to you like a fairy tale. It's just gonna come. You're just gonna you're just gonna fall on your lap. So no, I tell people all the time, like, no, what I'm doing today was like accumulation of all like the last 7 years of me just trying new things. Try this. I tried this because there were so many times I thought I found my passion.
Yeah.
Right. I found something, but then it just didn't work out. Then I tried something new. But now I finally found something that works for me. I love it. I enjoy it. I have fun with it. And I can see something turn great. I could turn this into something great. So that's, I guess my answer to everybody when it comes to passion, just follow your heart. That's my best. My best advice would say, everybody, just follow your heart, because I always believe that your heart always knows what's best for you.
Yeah, and you will know.
You will know. So follow your heart. Your heart knows. Well, I always say, like, your heart is like your inner compass. It's like it always points to where you need to the true north, to where you go. So
that's good.
So that's the way I see it. So sometimes we're gonna make some bad choices. Hey, we're human beings. I made a lot of bad choices. I put myself in a lot of bad situations, but my heart always, redirected me to the right direction. Yeah. Because when you're in the wrong situation, when you're around wrong people, you can feel it. You know it, right?
Yeah.
So, and that is a sign. Okay, this is not where I need to be, and I need to make some choices. I need to change something and go back. And that's all it is. And then it just led me to the point where I'm today. But that's what I guess I would say. It was just trying different things, putting a lot of work, and just following my heart what I love to do, what I enjoyed. And and that's the reality. For some people, it might take you 1 year to find your passion easily. But for some people, it might take you 5 to 10 years to find your passion and figure out. And that's the thing. Like, people like, are you willing to pay that price?
Yeah.
Are you willing? Yeah. So for a lot of people, a majority of people are just people are lazy. A lot of people are lazy. A lot of people don't have the right mindset, and they don't. They're not around. They're around the wrong people. So, and especially the Islanders, we always. I think that's one of the things that stops us from growing as Pacific Islanders is we're not willing to grow outside of the circle that we grew up in.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, but yeah, I guess that's my best way to explain it. Yeah.
Thanks, Wayne. That was good.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad you asked that question because, it's funny when I meet people today. It's like, oh man, like, you have some talent, or you know how to speak to people, you know how to talk to people. I'm like, I tell people all the time, no, that was not a talent. That was just me. The last 7 years, just working on myself to talk, because I'm an introvert. Like, for me, I like to stick to myself. I wasn't, I didn't speak. I didn't talk a lot when I was a kid. Yeah. So, but I realized for myself that I enjoy talking to people, and I hate the feeling that when I wanted to say something, but I couldn't because I was shy.
Yeah. Oh, that's the worst.
Right. So, I hated that feeling as a kid. Like, I had these ideas in me, or I wanted to say something, but but the fear of being shy because I wasn't confident in how I spoke. that always was like that was an insecurity that led me to the, you know what, I'm finally gonna work on that now. You know,
Yeah.
I'm tired of holding myself in and not be able to talk. And then I just spent the last 7 years just figuring out how to talk, how to speak, you know, taking jobs. I took a lot of jobs into door-to-door sales. So I did a lot of sales job. So it forced me to speak because now I'm talking to customers.
Yeah.
I'm talking to customers, and yeah, and then all of that experience allowed me to develop my ability to talk to people, communicate with people, and it gave me the confidence to go into podcasting. So yeah, but like I said, yeah, it wasn't an easy path. It wasn't. I wasn't as talented as you. Yeah, I'm not that way, but like it's just and that's the thing. I always tell people it's just I wish everybody could live their talent and live their passion.
Yeah.
And because I do know that I've enjoyed every single step, every single day that I've lived what I'm doing now. But the reality is just like there's a lot of things, uncomfortable things that you're gonna have to do.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, especially Islanders, we like to stay comfortable.
Yeah. If you don't put yourself in uncomfortable situations, you're not gonna,
Yeah.
Where your life, it's blocking different opportunities. If you're just so comfortable,
yeah,
you're not letting other opportunities come to you, closing it off.
Yeah, and you're gonna disappoint a lot of people. That's one thing I always tell people. You know, as you work your passion, as you work your dream, there's a lot of people that you're gonna they may not understand you, may not understand what you're doing, and may think you're crazy.
Yeah. I get that.
That's why maybe I have that personality. You know, I have like because when I'm like you said, when I'm focused, I'm just like I don't care. Nothing. I just block out everybody. But yeah, that's it. If you're watching this, I just want to say, like, follow your passion. Follow your passion. Do what you love. I always say, it's like life is just too short. Life is too short. Like we all have I truly believe this. Like we all have those moments in life that we do live our passion for like a small period of time. Like like you said, like you rented the studio, and you had opportunity to experience that, right? And you had a lot of a feeling of joy.
Yeah.
Right. So I always tell people, imagine living your life that way for the rest of your life, doing something you love.
Yeah. And feeling.
Yeah.
I can stop you.
And so many times it's just, for me, it's sad when I meet people, especially like Islanders, that I can clearly see their passion. I can clearly see their talent, but they're so afraid.
Yeah.
And they live a life that I know for a fact that they're not happy, they're not fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
And I know and they're gonna live like this for the rest of their life. And for me, that scares me. Like,
yeah.
For me, it scares me from never trying to live a life that I could have lived.
Mm.
And that's why for me, like, I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid. I don't, because like you said, when you work towards your dreams, like, you don't know if things are going to work out.
Yeah.
But for me, I'd rather work towards something that I may not know it won't work out, than just totally just giving up on it and then live the rest of my life thinking, what if?
Yeah. Yeah.
What if? And we're gonna live a long time, and I feel like I couldn't do that. I couldn't live for the rest of my life just thinking what if and be in a situation that I know that I'm not really happy and fulfilled in.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot, and I see that every day. And it hurts my heart, breaks my heart when people don't live their potential.
Yeah.
And if I could show people their potential for 1 second, for 10 seconds, or maybe for a moment, just so they could just see, like, this is what your life could be. This is who you could become if you actually had the courage to take that step. I would love to. But fortunately, like, that doesn't how life works.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are afraid of making mistakes. Well, like, they're just very much like, oh, but I don't want to, But the thing is, like, you can't learn without making mistakes.
Yeah, that's true.
You're supposed to progress and learn if you don't mistakes. You're not going to know unless you make those mistakes, no matter how big or, you know, how small. And there's nothing wrong with giving something a try, because if it doesn't work out in the end, oh well, like that's it. What else can happen?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that stops people is just the failure, right? The fear of failure. You know, failing and making mistakes. You know, honestly, it's not really the mistake that's difficult. I believe that's not like failing is not the reason why people are afraid. People are afraid. What people are really afraid of is what people are going to say when you fail.
Yeah, I'm caring too much. I think.
Like because like we fail all the time, right?
Yeah.
But the failures that we hate the most is the ones that people know about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So if we could fail and nobody knows about it, everybody would try to work to be successful.
Oh yeah.
So it's easy to fail when nobody knows about it, but the reality is, like, when you're trying to achieve something big for your life, people will know about it, and it's going to be public. You can't hide it, and that's the thing. Once you get over that, like I always tell people, once you get over the feeling that you have to please people, that people have to accept you. That's why, you know, self-confidence and self-love is important. Mm-hmm. To love yourself, appreciate, take time to spend time with yourself to the point where you're comfortable being yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel like the only way you can fully elevate yourself and take yourself to the next level is that you have to be fully commit to yourself. Like, okay, you're going all into yourself. It's like it's you against the world. I don't care what people say. I'm gonna be me. And then because I know as Polynesians, we are very tight knit with our family, and our family's opinions of us is really important to us. And it's really hard for Pacific Islanders to like disregard what their family thinks of them because we're so tight knit.
Yeah.
But I just had to learn for myself to not care.
Yeah.
And also, like, it's also like, you can't, and I'll always say, like, you can't expect your family to understand what you're doing or why you're living your life the way because they can't see the vision of what you're trying to do.
No.
So if you're trying to go this way and everybody wants to stay here, they can't understand, like, why would you leave? They're like, because they're happy or they're not happy, they're content in their little safe place. So for you to decide to try something totally different and go and have a different destination, and they can't see that destination. That's why they feel like that's why most people will never understand it, and they will, you know, either say something about it, or you think you're crazy, or try to give you encourage you to stop doing it. But if you can see it, for me, it's like if you can see it clearly in your mind, then I believe it's possible. You just gotta put the work in. Yeah. So all my parties out there, anybody that's watching, and please live, live your potential. I'm telling you, live your potential. I feel like, life is just too short not to. And life is too short, and life is too long if you don't live your potential. Life just becomes longer when you're doing something every single day that you know for a fact that doesn't bring you any kind of fulfillment or joy. You know, so I'm gonna be excited to watch your journey. You know, see what it's girl Ellie. What is girl Ellie's all about? But did you have any questions?
No, I really liked that conversation. It was very good. It honestly, like, opened my. There were some things I've never said before out loud. You know.
Yeah.
So give me plenty of things to reflect on. You know, good reflection.
This also, since we're talking about it, but this is one thing I would say to everybody that's listening. Question everything that you've been taught.
Yeah.
And that is one of the biggest things I had to do. A lot of times, the very things that stops us from moving forward, or the beliefs that we have, it's not necessarily our beliefs, it's the beliefs that you've been taught. So, you know, for me, growing up as a Pacific Islander, I remember there was a time where I thought that the only thing I could do was like play sports or work at the labor jobs that we all do with Pacific Islanders, or, you know, what my family did. So, and that was something I held on to. Like, I could only do this, because that's what I believed in. And it wasn't until like I went through my own personal growth journey, then I realized like, oh, this belief that I have about myself or what I can do, it's not really my belief. It's what I've been taught.
Mm-hmm.
So if you feel like you struggle to move forward, or you struggle to change, or you struggle to try something that you know in your heart that you want to do, I would always recommend everybody out there to question everything. Right? Yeah. If you feel like you're uncomfortable doing this, or you feel like you want to do something, but you feel uncomfortable because what your family thinks, I'm telling you, once you kind of like do like a self autopsy on yourself, when you die, people do an autopsy and figure out why you died. A lot of us are dying right now in our life because we're not living our potential. Yeah. And if you feel like you're just not fulfilled, you're not happy, you just feel like there's something missing. Then you really have to do like a self autopsy on yourself and figure out why do you feel that way, and what's stopping you. And a lot of times, what I realized, the only thing that was stopping me was just I was afraid of what my family was what I was afraid of what my family would say if I actually did it. Mm. And until I faced that reality and faced that challenge and found a way for me to be okay with that I can be myself and work towards something I wanted to live, and I was okay with my family either hate it or love me. Then that was when I finally okay, and then also realized that the things that I thought about myself of what I can do and what kind of man I could become was it was all dependent on what I was taught as a kid.
Yep. So that's funny. Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
That's one thing that my parents are very strict on. Yeah. Like nothing answer, you always question everything. If there's something like, if you want to question, this goes to show you're just curious, you just want to know. Yeah. They'd rather question something multiple times, the same, for you to finally understand something or get the answer you're looking for, rather than keeping it in and then coming up with your own answers. It just makes it 10 times. Yeah.
And you have to understand that, remember the way our parents raised us of what the life that they want us to live, that's their life, and the thing is, like I know you mentioned before, like happiness is different for everybody. Yeah. So however your parents raised you to be and how they want you to live, that worked for them, but that may not work for you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like you said, finding your own answers, like, when it comes to your life, the only person that can know what you really want to be happy in your own life is yourself. Like that's something that you get to, it's a self-discovery that you can only figure out. Yeah. Like nobody will know exactly what makes you happy. Only you. Nobody will know how far you can go in life and your potential and what you can do. Only you know that answer. And God, pray to God. Don't forget God. Yeah, don't forget God. But like you said, it's something that it's that's why I do my podcast, because I just want to give this information to many Pacific Islanders, because these are things that we are not taught. Yeah. These are things that we're not exposed to. And I do realize that there's a lot of Islanders who never know their potential, because they're just stuck in this bubble. They're stuck in this comfort zone and nobody has ever taken the time to tell them, hey, it's possible. You can become great. You're intelligent. You're beautiful. Like nobody's ever had these like words of empowerment to tell them. And it's, for some people, that's all they need. They just need to hear that. Yeah. And they hear it one time, and that's all they need. And for me, luckily, I had some good people in my life. They were able to tell me that, like, no, you can't do that. It is possible. Yeah. And then I heard that, and I was like, wait, my uncle said I was average. Yeah, like my uncle used to tell me, "What's this?" This is good to Sally. I'm gonna keep it real, Sally. Polly's, man, we can be very negative, man. We can be very negative and abusive with our words to our kids. Yeah. You know the tongue in love. The tongue in love. Like they just abuse, like verbally abuse us. But that's just the way. They're like, you're probably kind. Like, I know. like, in a family, like, can you just tell me I made a mistake? You don't have to tell me
Right?
this. I
A
know I
mistake.
messed up.
Anyway.
I know I made a mistake, but you don't have to say I'm stupid piece of shit.
Yeah, right.
but no, it's just the reality. And then remember, like, as kids, like, what you feed, what you tell your kids and what you feed them becomes their reality, becomes their belief of what they think is true. So if you tell like, there are, like you said, you grew up in a perfect example, like you grew up in a very hard life. There's a lot of traumas that you went through.
Yeah.
Right. And that developed into the many things that, all the things that you have now originated from those things that you went as a child.
Yeah.
And all of us we all have our experiences and things that we go as a child that stays with us forever.
Mm-hmm.
And because, like you said, there are kids out there, like, they're being told they're stupid their whole life as Polynesians. There are kids out there that are beaten, they're abused, depending on your situation, and they never figure out how to deal with that later on in their life.
Yeah.
So, and that's just a sad reality. And for me, like I said, I've gone through a lot of stuff myself, but it wasn't until I really sat down with myself. It just like did like I just looked within myself, like, wow, like, these are the things about myself. It's not making me happy. Like, it's hurting me. It's holding me back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid. It makes me insecure as a man. Makes me afraid. And then I really had to dig deep and just, like, slowly but surely just work on each part. Okay. Yeah. And then a lot of it just came from my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it came from my childhood, and I really had to. And I know for most people, they never do that.
Yeah.
I don't blame them, because nobody taught you how to do it.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people realize too that what happens to you is going to affect you and how you it shapes you into the person. People can handle it differently. They can either move on from it and be like, oh, well, that's what happened in my past. But a lot of people are the way they are now because of the stuff that's happened to them when they were younger.
I know a guy right now, one of my good friends. He was valedictorian in his high school. You know what that is? Oh, so what? I don't know what you call it in Australia. The person that has the highest grades in high school, like the person with the highest grade, like the highest marks.
Oh, okay.
What do you call that in Australia?
Teacher's pet.
No, like out of the whole school at the end of the year, like the number one person.
Oh, sorry, I'm talking about the actions.
When you graduate high school, the person that's number one. What do you call that person?
We say it like we didn't have a specific name for them, but we say they've got the highest OP, the highest grade. That's
okay.
Highest,
okay. Yeah. Okay, or you just call them the teacher's pet. Yeah, so in America, we call that person the valedictorian. And in America, is when we graduate, the valedictorian always does the final speech for the graduation.
Oh, wow.
All right, yeah. So it's but yeah. And I know a Tongan friend of mine. He was valedictorian.
Wow.
Yeah. But he gave up college because his family told him he was stupid.
What?
Yeah.
He gave up college.
Yeah, he went home, and because he was smart, like, he's very intellectual, he's very intelligent, he's very articulate, and because he spoke a certain way, his family, like, because his family, because he was like, he went home he went home, and then his family was like, oh, take that, stupid piece of paper, you think you're the shit, you think you're the shit because you got a valedictorian. I know they were so that his accomplishments made them insecure because they weren't smart enough.
Yeah.
Right. And it was sad, and they told him he was dumb.
Wow.
And then he gave up his college career because he believed it. He believed that, oh, okay, maybe I am dumb, even though he's valedictorian, even though he's number one in his whole high school.
Yeah.
Right. But he gave that up, and he hasn't gone back to college. He's just working as a landscaper.
Wow.
But he gave all that up just because his family his family was insecure because of what he was doing. Because when you talk to him, he sounds like a very smart, like a articulate, educated person. So, and of course, Tongan is like, they're still talking like a fob, but he made what he did made them insecure. So they, instead of dealing with their insecurity, they put him down. And that hurt me. That was like, oh my God, like, these guys, he's a valedictorian. He's a valedictorian, number one person. He could come to any college he wanted because he had scholarships offered to him. And they gave him scholarships, but he gave that up because his family told him he was stupid.
Damn.
Yeah. What did they say? I was like, they said that you can't, because all of them did labor jobs. Like, oh, you can't build a house with that degree or something. Like, you can't. I forgot what they said. I remember he told me a long time ago.
Oh God. Like comparing. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, they told him, what's the point of that degree if you can't mow the grass, or if you can't cut a tree or something.
Oh.
Because he wasn't like, because he didn't like to work with his hands because he was very smart.
Yeah.
Well, of course, like when you're studying, you're not gonna work with your hands.
Yeah.
So when he worked with his family in the construction with his family, like, he was very weak.
Oh, okay.
And then they would make fun of him. Oh, see, like, what's the point of being so smart when you can't lift like this, when you can't lift a cement bag, or you can't do this? Which, yeah. And they were just mocking, making fun of his degree, of his educational accomplishments.
Yeah, that's not good to hear. That's very sad.
I know, it was very sad. So I was like, man, see, but the thing is, that's just one example, but that's something I always see. There's all these kids out there that have all these talent, but like their family or the surrounding, they're not feeding them positive encouragement to fulfill, like, to pursue what they want to do.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, and that's another. But that's the purpose of why I want to start this podcast, was just like talk about real things and what we go through, and encourage everybody. Hey, man, like, don't listen to what people say. Listen to your own heart and listen to yourself, to your own voice. Like, because I always believe that we all have that deep voice. We all have that voice inside of what we can do. What we really want to do with our life. Mm-hmm. But oftentimes it gets drowned out and suppressed from the negative voices of the people that we're around. Mm-hmm. So you need to spend time with people that really love and appreciate and nourish you. And yeah. And you gotta cut out those negative uncolos, man. Those negative uncolos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all have those.
Who's your smart? Which personality of yours is like the smart person?
The smart person?
That's like a little, yeah.
She's street smart. Very smart. She's into science.
Yeah.
Her passion. She likes to be a scientist. I've always liked science as a kid. She's very, like, out of everyone, like, she will say stuff that, like, sometimes when I hear that I've said, I'm like, damn, if I knew I was like this smart, I'd be like, okay, trying to spell my name, and she's like talking about like vibrations and frequencies, and like, I'm like, wow. But she's the smart. She's very, very, very street smart. She's book smart, and then you have Ellie, who's just street smart. Yeah.
It's all good. But yeah. Did you have you anything you want to talk about? No. Anybody want to say anything to the audience?
No, thank you guys for tuning in. Honestly, it's I take this as a blessing, a big blessing to be on here talking. And when I watch this later, I'm feel like, oh my, is this how I really am? Like, no, but thank you guys for tuning in, especially for making the time to watch, and hear my story as well. Mm-hmm. First, telling you it's the first time I've ever even spoken deeply about, what's going on in my life. Mm-hmm. Besides stuff like that. And fingers crossed, I hope it, helps educate other people on not even just my mental illness, but hopefully it helps others reach out, like just to ask for help. Mm-hmm. And it's a stupid thing to ask. I don't think it's gonna, take away your manhood, because, if you ask for help, don't ever be afraid. Honestly, learn from me. You don't want to end up like me, not because I can handle it, but there's one thing I could say just, yeah, don't ever be afraid to ask for help. Good
Okay.
to ask.
All right. So, are you gonna sing for us? Is the end?
But that was nice. I can feel myself. I can feel myself going into David right now, and
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, the one thing I always ask every guest is just share some final words, some final thoughts at the end. Yeah, so can you just share some final thoughts, some final words, and we'll close off the podcast with that.
Yeah, awesome. Just going back to like hoping. I hope that this really changes the way people need. I'm trying to break that stigma of thinking that us, that bring up your mental illness is a problem, or if it's a hassle. I don't want people to think that. Break that. I want it to be an open topic.
Mm-hmm.
Why should we rebel against our family or against the ones we love just to do things that makes us happy? Why? I don't want, I want the younger generation. Everyone wants their kids to grow up and be happy. These are things we need to talk about: mental illness, our passion. That's another big thing that you've opened my eyes to. That is a big problem now. Finding your passion. It's a big thing. But yeah, no, honestly, we've honestly touched on a lot of things. I feel like I'm just, it's my show now.
Well, I just want to say thanks so much for taking the time, and I hope you guys enjoyed our podcast with her and her 7 personalities. And I feel like I did like 8 interviews today. But thank you so much. We appreciate it. Very grateful. And I'll see you guys next time.